Hello, and welcome to this quick guide on how to make a smashable loot crate in Crayta. The first thing that you're going to need is some kind of loot. So I'm starting from the adventure blueprint, which already has these resource spawners as part of the blueprint. You could start from another blueprint which has something like a gun or a melee weapon already established in the game, because they usually have pickup scripts attached to them. They could be your loot. Whatever it is, it needs to be within your game world. It needs to be able to be picked up by a player and added to their inventory. So we have some loot of some kind, and I'm using these resource spawners. If, like me, you're using the adventure blueprint and the resource spawner, make sure to go down to the pickup spawner script, uncheck respawning and uncheck show on init. This is so that it's not automatically going to spawn some resource when it starts, and instead I'm going to do that, going to tell it when to do that. I then added a crate to my game world, so you can see the crate is here. And with the crate selected, I made sure that damage enabled is checked, because I'm going to need to be able to damage the crate. I added a script to the crate called crate smash script, which, if I show you here in edit this asset, has a couple of properties and one function which is called, this function is called on damage, and it's a special type of function which hooks into the Crayta API. So Crayta automatically calls the on damage function whenever this crate is damaged, be that by a melee weapon or by a gun or an explosion or whatever. Whenever this thing is going to take some damage, the on damage function is automatically called on any script which is attached to the entity. It takes 3 arguments or 3 properties here: damage amount, damage causer, and hit result. Once I have written the function here, I can then reduce a number. So I've created a property called health, which has got a default value of 600. And whenever this entity is damaged, this function is called, and I am reducing the amount of health by however much damage has been caused. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm using a wrench, which is essentially the axe package, which you can find on the community, just with a slightly different mesh. And the amount of damage that that causes is 350. So the amount of the health that's left over will be whatever it starts as, 600 minus 350. That's the first time we hit this crate. And the second time we hit it, that goes down from 250, which is 600 minus 350. That goes down to below 0. So it takes 2 hits, essentially, with a wrench or with an axe to destroy this crate. Then I'm checking if the health is below 0, then I need to make the crate invisible, turn off collisions so that it's not an invisible barrier that we walk into. We will, as a player, will be able to walk through it, and then call an onDestroyed event. My onDestroyed event, which is a property up here, I've hooked into 3 resource spawners, and each one I've selected the resource spawner as I've bound it to a resource spawner, to the pickup spawner script on the resource spawner, and to the show pickup event on the pickup spawner script. If we take a quick look at that, that's this function here. So essentially, when this crate runs out of health, it calls this show pickup function on the resource spawner. Remember, the resource spawners won't be showing anything when they first start. They are relying on some kind of code to call that show pickup function. And by hooking it into this event here, I can add as many different resources as I want to spawn, and then do the show pickup event on each of those. Let's test it out. I'm going to press F5 to test it. Notice that none of the apples appear around the crate to start with. I walk up to it and hit it with the wrench. 1 hit is reduced the health, but it's not yet destroyed. A second hit destroys the crate and pops open the resources, which I can now pick up and eat those juicy apples. That's how to quickly put together some kind of smashable loot crate in Crayta. There's a longer tutorial if you want to dive into how it works and the ins and outs of that. And I hope this has been useful and interesting, and I look forward to seeing your smashable loot crates in Crayta.